welcome back to Simply Home and Harvest. I'm Jen, and it is a beautiful day here in Virginia. The week is looking so promising. We have been in the middle of this polar vortex, is how I heard someone describe it. Frigid temperatures, probably like most of you in the United States, especially in the eastern and southern part of the United States. I know we have really been hit hard. Some of you who haven't seen snow in 20 years have been enjoying a very snowy winter. So it's been a very different winter for all of us, but this week looks so promising. Sunny skies, we have temps in the 50s today, and we've got one day where we've been told it could get into the 60s, and I am here for it. It's giving me a little bit of spring fever, but it's also giving me an urgency to go ahead and get all of these indoor projects that I plan to get done in January and February underway. So we've been decluttering, but there's something that I have been putting off. It's been in the freezer, and with the busyness of the holidays, I just thought I'll wait until January or February to get it done. And that is making our annual homemade applesauce. Now, we harvested these apples back in the fall, and I made apple butter, and I think I made some applesauce then. I can't remember if I did or not. If I did, we don't have any more of it now, so I may have made a small batch. I know I also processed some apples to do like apple pie filling and things, so I've got a little bit of that in the freezer as well. But today's project is we are going to make some homemade applesauce. It's so very easy, and I know you will enjoy it if you take the time to make it yourself. I know you can buy applesauce in the store, but I'm telling you, there is nothing like homemade applesauce. It is so delicious. It's one of our daughter's favorite things that I can. So I'm gonna make this for us tonight to go along with our dinner, and I thought you might like to see it too. All right, guys, so what I have here are 3 frozen bags that contain 8 cups each of applesauce. And because the bags are frozen, I'm gonna put them into my stock pot, which I'm gonna show you in a second. My recipe calls for adding 1.5 cups of water per 16 cups of apples, but because they're frozen, I know they're going to have more water in them. So I'm actually going to add, let's see, 16 plus 8. I'm adding 24 cups of apples because that's what I have. So I'm gonna have to make some adjustments to the recipe, but I'm gonna give you the recipe for 16 cups of apples. So just, you know, base your recipe off the amount of apples you have. But first, we're gonna get these into our stock pot and let these completely heat up and cook in the water, and then I'll probably add some more water to it as well. Okay, so I can only fit 16 cups into my pot, which I know this pot will hold 32 cups of apples as they cook down. So I'm gonna let these cook down just for a few minutes. And then once they start to thaw a little bit, we'll add our extra water. And I'm just gonna keep an eye on them just to get that thawing process started. So if you have frozen apples, it might take you a couple of extra steps. But if you were doing these from fresh apples, then you would just add your water and cook these apples down until they're soft. All right, so we were able to add that additional 8 cups of apples, and they have cooked down considerably. You can see all the liquid that the thawing process produced. I did add an additional cup of water, which I think this is plenty of liquid. So I'm gonna continue to let these cook for a little bit longer. It says until the apples are soft, and they're probably already soft just because, you know, they were frozen. But I'm gonna let them cook just a little bit longer, and then we'll add our additional ingredients. All right, so we've got our apples completely heated now. They've cooked until they are soft. So what I'm gonna do now is remove them from the heat and add in our sugar, cinnamon, and lemon juice. All right, now that it's off our heat source, we're going to add in 1 cup of sugar. Now you can add anywhere from 1/2 cup to 1 cup for 16 cups of apples. So I'm just going to do, I think I normally do like 1/2 cup of sugar. So I'm just gonna do maybe like 3/4 of a cup, even for this additional amount. We don't need a super sweet applesauce. I think the apples are sweet enough on their own. So, and you can do this to taste. You know, I might taste it a little bit later and decide that we need more sugar, but you can always add more, but you can't take it out. So I'm going to be a little bit more conservative on adding the sugar there. And then our cinnamon. Now you can do this with or without cinnamon. I have done it both ways, and we prefer the cinnamon, but it's just a tablespoon of cinnamon for that 16 cup recipe. But since we've got 24 cups in here, that I'm going to do about 1.5 or maybe 1.25 tablespoons of cinnamon in there. Again, you know, we could always go back and add this, or we could always go back and add more in. The only other thing we need to add in is a couple of tablespoons of lemon juice. And this is especially important if you want to can this recipe, and we probably will, because we're probably going to have too much to eat in the next little bit. That's about 1.5. That's a good amount right there. But this keeps it safe when you are water bath canning. You could probably pressure can this if you have a pressure canner, but I've only used the water bath canning method with this, so I always add my lemon juice to the apples. All right, so now that we've got all of this mixed together, we're going to add it back to our heat. We're going to let it come up to a steady simmer, and then we're going to let it simmer till we get our desired consistency. So I'll just keep checking it. Sometimes I have to add, like, I'll use my immersion blender to blend it if I don't want it too chunky. So we'll just keep watching it, but basically it's just going to keep cooking, and hopefully it'll be ready by dinner. It's about 3:30, so we may not get it canned today. What we might have to do is put it in the fridge and then can it. I oversplashed there. We might have to put it in the fridge and can it a different day. I don't know what that's going to look like for me this evening, but right now we'll get back on our heat and bring it up to a simmer. All right, you guys, it's been almost 2 hours since we started cooking down our applesauce, and you can see that it's really cooked down significantly. So if you like chunky applesauce, then this is probably perfect for you. I'm probably going to take the immersion blender to this a little bit and get it a little bit smoother, because we like it smoother. And then we're ready to go. We'll serve this tonight with dinner, and then I will can this at some point. I'll show you that process. Maybe. I think this is too much to keep in the refrigerator. You could keep it in your refrigerator if you use it within 2 weeks, and we would burn through it if I did that. Ella will eat this for every meal if I have it on hand. She loves it. So I really want it to last. That's why I'm thinking I may can it. You could probably even freeze it if you didn't want to drag your canner out. I'd have to do some research on that, but I'm pretty sure that you can freeze it just like you freeze anything else. So we are going to stop here. I'm going to let this cool off before I put the immersion blender to it, because it will splash back and burn me, and I don't want that. You can see it's still bubbling there. All right, so Ella is here, and she wants to taste test our applesauce for us. So I'm going to put a little bit in the bowl for her. It's hot. I'll let y'all see the consistency of it up close, since we just used the immersion blender and blended it a little bit. All right, let's see what you think. Oh, it's hot. Did I warn you? Good. I know, I told them I'm going to have to can it, because if we just put that in the refrigerator, you would eat it all within 2 weeks. All right, she approves. That's good enough for me. All right, well, it is a few days later, and I kept our applesauce in the refrigerator. And then the day that I was ready to can it, I just pulled it out of the refrigerator and sat it on the counter for about 2 to 3 hours just to bring it up to room temperature. And then I heated it back up on the stove. I did this while I was bringing my canner up to boiling and getting my jars ready for the applesauce. So if you don't have time to do everything in one day, you can break it up into a few different days. And a lot of you have asked me in the past, like, can I make up the things that I want to can and then put them in the refrigerator for a few days until I can get back to canning them? So the answer is yes, you can do that. You just got to allow yourself some time and some additional steps to get your food, back up to temperature so that your canning process can be successful. I was able to get about 5.5 pints out of the applesauce, and then we did have a little extra that we ate on, for those days leading up to the time where I could get it canned. So let's just say we made about 6 pints out of that applesauce. That just gives you an idea of what 24 cups of chopped apples yields. So I know it doesn't seem like you get a lot for all the time you put in, but I'm telling you, the taste is worth it. It's something that I will continue to make every year because we love it that much, and it just does not compare to the store-bought applesauce at all. So give this one a try. Let me know what you think if you do, and I will just let you enjoy our finished process here. All right, well, that's it for today's applesauce video. I hope that you found that instructional video helpful. Hopefully you can make yourself some homemade applesauce, and no worries if you can't get to those apples right away when you harvest them. You can always put them in your freezer for a less busy time, and January is the perfect time to can food. In fact, there's this thing they call Canuary. So I just made it in to the end of January to get some canning done, but anything that you can put up, tomatoes, whatever you get from your garden that you don't have time for, squash, you can always turn those things into canning projects later in the winter. All right, well, that's where I'm going to leave you today. I hope you are having a wonderful week. So until next time, remember to live simply, use what you have, enjoy the moments you've been given, and I will see you all in the next one.